Hello everyone! Thanks for joining us again, as today we're going to be covering Alien Isolation.
Alien Isolation.
This is obviously an older game compared to the content we've covered on our channel.
But not too old.
No, and it was something that I'd heard a lot of praise being given, so it was something I really wanted us at Different Beat to cover. So I had reached out to Tim, and we ended up both getting a copy of it. I played through on the Xbox One version, just so that can be known. And over the last week or so, we played through the campaign. And it's really not what I was expecting going in.
Nor I really gotta say. So this was the first survival horror game we really delved into for our channel. Survival horror. I would call it more of a suspense thriller kind of game. And I went into this game, even though I really initially had no desire to play it, it was only really because I didn't know that it was canon to the Alien universe, because I'm actually a fan of the Alien movies and the Alien universe. So once I found out that it was canon, and Beth had suggested it, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And yeah, so I'll let you go ahead and start off with your first point here.
I think the main thing with horror, and a lot of critics have gone into this, especially Yahtzee, even though, Zero Punctuation makes jokes. He one time in one of his videos said that horror is a purely emotional response, and that really is the case. So during my time with Alien Isolation, on the lead up, I'd heard so much about how tense it was, how much fear it instilled into the player. And throughout my entire run of the campaign, I was never tense, I was never afraid, and I think that was because whatever it ticks inside of me to experience that feeling of horror, I just didn't get from the title. So I think a large part of it, a large part of what made it so special for everyone, I just emotionally did not experience. So it's hard to really judge it based on that.
Yeah, see, that's interesting, because one of the things I'll praise the game the highest on, actually, was I really felt like its strongest quality was its atmosphere and its sense of tension. Because I did feel tension. Never really horror per se, but there were a lot of times early on, within the first few hours of the game, where I did feel that sense of like, oh my god, I could really die and I have to be careful here. And I really think they did a good job of, not only the lighting, but making the ship just really feel derelict, and just that constant threat, just like we talked about in Bloodborne, about how the ambiance played such a huge part, and what really gave the game that horror-esque vibe. I feel like Alien Isolation really excelled at, and they did a great job of ambiance, especially when you played it with headphones on, and you could really hear just all the sounds from the ships, the circuits and the doors sparking. You could hear the stuff tumbling around in the vents. You could hear people off in the distance talking, and it made the space station feel alive, but alive with things that could kill you, because you never really get the ability to defend yourself successfully for any long period of time. So that worked for me. I definitely got the suspense from it.
Well, the one thing I would say the game deserves a ton of praise from, even from me, is the world building aspect. I didn't experience the horror, I didn't experience the tension, which is sad to me because I wish I had.
I wish you had too.
The space station did feel good on my trip through, seeing the dead bodies and the mutilated corpses, and you could tell from the ones that were shot and the ones that were killed by the alien. And I think the dev team did a great job building the world. It's just because I couldn't connect with it on an emotional level, I never got the sense of tension, because to me, it was like I was playing against a ghost in Pac-Man. The alien is invincible, you can't really do how much to, you can use a little bit to, push it away. My first reaction isn't to jump or get fearful when I might die. It's like, okay, I learned from that, moving on. So the use that they try to build tension doesn't work, at least with someone coming from my perspective.
Yeah, see, the thing that you had just mentioned there about you learning from your mistake and moving on is, I'm not sure if this happened to you, but there was several times in that game where I just flat out died for no discernible reason whatsoever. And what I'm talking about is after you get, it's when the game starts out, I really think that's where the most tension is for the first couple hours. The tension gets a lot less after you get the motion detector. I really think from there, because then you can pretty much just walk around with it up all the time, and it sort of gives you a readout of, now you need to hide, now you don't need to hide. Whereas before, you had to make those judgments based on the sounds you were hearing. You had to be like, I hear something in the vents, I need to go hide. So the motion detector, while yes, without the motion detector, that game would have been easily like 24 hours long, because you would have had to constantly be like taking 3 steps and hiding and 3 steps and hiding. So what I'm saying though is that there were several times in the game where my motion detector, I'd have it out, would show me nothing. The alien was not there. And I'm not talking about the times where he's up in the vents and not moving, because this was before the vent part of the game. I'm talking about early on in the game where I'd be, be hiding in a locker, alien would walk by, not seeing me, I'd be watching my motion detector, and he just bolts off. I mean, not just like he disappears off the radar, you see him bolt off in the other direction. And then I would go ahead and get out of the locker. I'd turn the corner off to my left, which is not where the alien went, he went off that way, and boom, there he is, impales me from behind, and I fall over and die. That happened to me not just once. I mean, I would chalk that up to unfortunate coincidence, but that plagued me several times throughout the game. So there wasn't even really the ability to learn from my mistakes, because I'm pretty sure the game cheated me several times on my deaths.
I don't think that happened to me often. Every once in a while, like we talked about before, one of the airlock sequences, I had issue where it's like it kind of dropped down and it didn't seem, it should have at that point. But generally, I am actually going to say I didn't use the motion detector a lot. The one thing the game does do is it gives you a lot of different ways to discern your environments, and there are a lot of visual cues. You can tell when the alien is in the air duct because saliva will drip down.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't show up in the motion detector then anyway, because he's holding still up in there.
Well, exactly. And where I was going with that, and like the Joes, like if they're not aggroed, their eyes are white.
Yeah,
the
and if
second
they are,
they aggro, they turn red. So I actually dropped using the motion detector fairly early, and even though I was playing on a console, I used the lean a lot, because I found when I was using the motion detector, it made me less apt to go forward. And there are a lot of times where if the alien's not looking at you, it does have a blind spot, but if I was using the motion detector, I wouldn't move because it was there.
See,
so as soon as I stopped and used the lean, I was moving through the game at a much greater and brisker pace.
See, I was the exact opposite. I would pull up the motion detector and just walk until I saw the alien kind of anywhere near me. And I don't mean near me, if it was behind me, but not direct, I couldn't hear it behind me, I would just keep moving. I'd keep going. The only I would hold it up there, I'd hold L2 so I could see the stuff in front of me, and I would walk. I wouldn't even crouch. I would just get up and move from one objective to the other. So that's how I made it through the game really fast. But like I said, that's what was so frustrating for me, is there were plenty of times in the game where the alien killed me even though it was nowhere on the motion detector or in a vent.
Well, one thing I want to say, because this should point out how little I used the motion detector. I was over 3/4 of the way through the game before I got the achievement for getting 20 unique signals on the motion detector. And if you're using it a lot, you get that really early. But I got it so late because, like I said, I dropped it and used the lean, and all of a sudden I was moving through at a much greater pace.
Indeed. I could see that. But that's interesting how he approached it in two very different ways. I didn't know that how you played it. So one thing I want to touch on about the game in the atmosphere is I really think that one of the things that detriments the game the most is, we had talked about how the environment, it did a pretty good job of setting up the world. The suspense you didn't get, which is kind of sad, because I didn't get it at first. Now, granted, it does wear off after a while. The game stops becoming tense after you played it for a few hours, because it's cat and mouse is all it is. And once you adapt to that, the tension's almost gone. One of the things that I thought was really hard about the game that really hurt it for me was, the crafting system, while it's nice, I thought your item wheel and inventory management was a pain to use.
Yeah, especially had a quick select, shortcut keys on a keyboard.
If you could use, the only time in the game you use the D-pad for anything is for doing the sequences on the computer. It'll have you press up, down, left, or right to, on some of the consoles to do something. But it's why couldn't I map items to those? Because there was so many times in the game where I died because I was walking around with the revolver shotgun out, alien would drop down behind me, and by the time I open up my inventory wheel and I try and get out the flamethrower or a Molotov, I'm already dead. Because it's it's this big, by the end of the game you have so many items that wheel gets big and it's really easy to misselect something. So I thought that was kind of annoying. And also, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but there's a really uneven distribution of save points in that game. Like, there were some chapters where I had to go a long time in between saving, and I would die, and it would put me way back, and that was super annoying, because I'd have to go through it over and over again. But then there were other times where you go through the game on certain missions, and it feels like every other room has a save point in it. I sort of get why that is, because when the game starts out and you're in the space station, there's so many locked doors and places you can't access. They really did a great job of unifying that world, because by the end of the game, you've been everywhere. You've been through all those doors. So it's like the world of the game isn't that large, but it feels big. It's sort of, the way it directs you through the space station works really well, because you'll be in a place you've been before and you won't even recognize it at first, because now you're viewing it from a different angle, you came at it from a different room, and you're sort of in there and you're like, wait a minute, I've been here before. I've been back here already once. So it's like that was kind of cool. But the weird distribution of save points frustrated me, because there were some times where I did die, and then boom, I have to go back 10 minutes into the game and try and get back to that save point, and try and get to the next save point. So that was unfortunately kind of an immersion breaker for me. My wife was watching me play this game, and by the end of it, like, that happened to me a lot on like the last, or not the last mission, but one of the final missions. And I got so frustrated because I was just trying to get to the end of the mission. And again, another thing that the game did to me, which was totally crappy, is several times throughout the game, the alien would puppy guard my objective. Like, I would be sitting there, I'd be like 2 rooms away from where I'm supposed to be, and I'd be hiding under a table or in a locker or whatever, and it's the alien, you know, he normally patrols and then takes off somewhere else, would never leave the area. He would just pace back and forth in front of the door I was supposed to be at. So it's like, after sitting there waiting for this window of opportunity, I'd have to let him kill me so I could try and get back there again before he would patrol the door again. So I don't know if I just got really unlucky, or if that's a bug of some kind, or what. I mean, I know that there is some sort of intelligence that the game has in terms of that alien, because if you do hide in the same spot for too long, he will inevitably find you at some point. And that's why there's even those tips in the game that say hiding is only a temporary solution, which I would get, but he should still be doing something other than just pacing a the one hallway I need to get through. So that was a bit frustrating for me.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't have much more to say on the game other than I think Alien fans.
Like, what about the storyline? What about Ripley as a character?
And I covered that with what I was about to say. I think that Alien fans, people that live and breathe this universe, are going to get far more out of it in all aspects, whether it be Amanda Ripley, Weyland-Yutani's like influences, even some of the way other characters are portrayed, and the callbacks to other parts of the series.
Yeah.
I think that this game was made by Alien fans for people who love Alien.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Unfortunately, while it was me that pushed the review it, I ended up walking away because I don't care about Alien. I don't like the Alien movies. I mean, I love the idea of the strong, independent Ripley from them, but they don't interest me. So I think because of that hamstrung my ability to enjoy the game. So it's definitely a recommendation, as far as I can say, to other like Alien fans, and for people who can get immersed, for someone who can really put themselves in the experience, you should check it out. I mean, I don't have much more to say because I'm not that kind of person. Yeah,
see, for me, I did appreciate the homage and the tie-ins to the story of the, it even includes the Prometheus, which is a newer installment, that only came out a few years ago. And so I really did think it did a good job of building on that universe, and, Ellen Ripley being the Ripley from the movie series, his daughter. That was kind of cool. I don't think she was fleshed out very well as a character, though. I mean, she's a vehicle to move the story along, and the motive, you understand her motive for going through the space station and going there in the first place. But I really think as like a character to build her up as somebody you care about, I don't think she was fleshed out enough. Like, I mean, you never really got to know her other than the most basic interest of she's there to figure out what happened to her mom. And I really think that was sort of a missed opportunity, because it does so much in the way of expanding the story and telling another story that happened after the Alien series, but nothing more about Ripley's daughter. So it's almost like they moved the world story along, but introduced you this character that initially you were supposed to be really into, but by the end of the game never really got developed in any sort of way.
No, I agree.
I think that was kind of a missed opportunity there. But I mean, it definitely is a game made by Alien fans for Alien fans. As far as a standalone survival horror experience, I say that the game's biggest detriment is that it shoots itself in the foot by overplaying its strength. I mean, the things that, like, at first you find so, like, unique and intriguing about it, like the environment and like the feeling of constant threat and all that, it's like that doesn't last for the duration of the game. It's like those elements that they give you to feel that way are just overused mission after mission after mission, to where by the end of the game, the alien drops down a vent. You're not even scared anymore. It's like, oh, you again, will you go away? Chuck something at it, like, get out of here. You know, blast it with a flamethrower. And it almost just becomes a nuisance. It's not even, like, frightening. So, I mean, I think that, you know, I get that, yes, the alien is, you know, obviously the menace, the thing that can kill you, because you never actually get the ability to kill it. But they should have done something differently. It's hard to say. It's like it's missing something. You know what I mean?
Again, it's hard for me to really say, because I think if I were to agree with that, people would be like, well, you just don't get it because you're not an Alien fan. I do.
Oh, well, I am an alien. I am.
And I'm saying you could probably better articulate it. But for me, who is so outside that sphere of influence, anything that I take away from the game is really a takeaway from the franchise, because it's like, I don't find the alien terrifying. I don't like the look of it. I don't find the lore all that.
I love
compelling.
Xenomorphs. I think Xenomorphs look awesome.
See, we couldn't be more different. I think the alien just looks dumb. I don't think it looks scary at all.
I mean, I guess if you looked at it as, like, you know, a creature design, I mean, it looks almost more sleek and aerodynamic than terrifying. It's more, again, it's for those alien fans, the people who have those nostalgic, positive memories of watching Alien and Aliens, like, way back when. And that's the reason why I said what I did. Thought that the Xenomorphs were these awesome creatures, you know, and it's like, that's how it came across for me. So I did enjoy the Alien. It was sad to me, though, that by the end of the game, it was just go away, you know, like, I'm just trying to get to the door, get out of here. You're not even scary anymore. You're like an annoying raccoon that lives under my porch. Just shoo, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I get where you're, as somebody who's not a fan, I could see how you missed out on a lot of the experience. Even me, who was privy to most of that experience, I still walked away from the game overall disappointed, honestly. I mean, there were great elements about it, but for as long as the game was, the ending, which was just so ungratifying. I mean, it's like with an ending like that, the game could have been half as long and better for it. It's like the game makes you work so hard to get to the end, and it's just long enough to where you actually feel like you're having to work for something, and then you don't get that payout, and it's like, well, why did I do all this? It's like everything you've done is futile, and so it ended on a bad note, and that makes me sad. I honestly really wish the game would have ended in more positive light for me, but it really didn't. So, I mean, overall, if I had to rate Alien Isolation as a game, even as somebody who appreciates the series and the source material, I couldn't give this game more than 3 stars. I couldn't do it.
And see, I would probably go at a solid 3, just like I said, for people that can experience it the way the developers intended. I do think there's some good stuff there. It's just, I'm not that person. It's not something I experience, so I'm not. It's not fair for me to try and say it's a bad game, because I do think there are shortcomings. By no means, I think it was something like, I'm a huge Alien fan. It's perfect. I'm like, you're still out of your damn mind. A game mechanically, a 3 at best.
I mean, it does run smooth. It does have some frame drops here and there. There's some choppy animations, especially with your character model. It's like you can tell that the game is rendered from the camera, and your character model has very little collision when you glide over objects on the ground if you're looking down. And there's several times to where your arm will, like, go through objects and stuff like that. Not detrimental, but it's still it's a technical thing that sort of takes away from the experience. Especially, it's sort of contradictory for a game that spent so much time trying to build immersion. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Replay value, none, I would say. Unless you want to go through for a no deaths trophy or no kills trophy. Not my cup of tea. I'm not a big trophy hunter in general.
No, nor am I.
So, I mean, if you're a fan of the series, I would say you'll probably like it just for the way it builds off the canon. But if you're looking for a really good survival horror experience, I would say your money is probably spent best elsewhere.
Well, I guess that's that for this week. Join us next week as we are going to be covering Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I hope to see y'all there.
Yep. So if you like the video, please click the thumbs up down there. Please subscribe and be notified whenever we upload new videos, which is every Sunday. If you have any comments about this game or want to tell us what you thought, please go ahead and put them down in the comments below. We'd love to hear back from you about your thoughts. So yeah, check us out next time when we cover Resident Evil Revelations 2. That'll be an interesting one. Well, anyway, guys, have a good night. This is Different Beat, and I'm Tim.
And I'm Elizabeth.
Take care.